It's not looking good for Bitcoin. This morning, Gareth Soloway, one of our favorite traders that we follow here, points out a very bearish signal that appeared in Bitcoin's chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that signal is from Gareth.
Keep in mind, we had this beautiful topping tail here. So be very, very careful. If you guys aren't familiar with topping tails and bottoming tails, they're amazing indicators of potential tops and bottoms. As soon as I saw that topping tail, I said, okay, guys, this is a short-term sell signal. And look, 1, 2, 3, 4 down days following that topping tail.
So let's go ahead and take a look at what a topping tail is, or also known as a shooting star. It is part of the bearish candlestick pattern that tells traders and investors that a stock or the market is topping. We can see that the body of the candle is down below and the tail is really tall above. So essentially what this is telling us is that there was a lot of bulls that were pushing the price up, which we can see at the highs of it pushing all the way up here, but it was only to be sold off and closing down below. Therefore, it shows that the bears are in control. So with this topping tail that Gareth sees, there could be some weakness with the bulls, as well as Bitcoin looking like it could be topping at around $23,000. So does that mean it's time to sell? Well, in the short term, Gareth is saying it's a big day. Jerome Powell is speaking, as well as there's some movement in the DXY. That's the strength of the dollar. It's looking like there could be an opportunity to sell.
The big thing to watch for markets bouncing, look at the dollar. The dollar is up slightly. Watch it on Powell. When Powell speaks, if the dollar pops, you have resistance at 104.20 or so. And again, I do think that the dollar is having a 3-bar surge. 1, 2, 3. You likely, even if you get a little pop here, you're likely going to get a pullback in the dollar. That would bode well for a continued small bounce in Bitcoin and maybe potentially the stock market. All right. So again, any sort of dollar weakness, you should expect the equity market, the assets in general, risk assets like Bitcoin, to get a little bit of a pop. But right now, to me, I would be much more intrigued if this pop doesn't touch 25,000. We have a position in verified investing crypto. I would be unloading that there and then looking for a bigger move down.
If you're enjoying the video so far, definitely hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much. It really helps out a lot. So Gareth is saying that if you want to offload some Bitcoin, it's looking like $25,000 is likely on the table, mainly due to Jerome Powell speaking today, as well as the dollar weakening. So both of those happening today, where the dollar looks like it's hitting some resistance and it looks like it's going to be falling down. And as the dollar weakens, it'll be good for risk on assets. So with $25,000, it just seems like it's not going to really break that point, mainly due to some very strong resistance. So Gareth doesn't think that Bitcoin will actually exceed and break out of 25,000. Therefore, it's a good time to possibly offload some Bitcoin, wait for it to fall, and buy back in later. So where would you actually buy back in? When would the bottom actually be for Bitcoin? Let's go ahead and hear what Gareth has to say.
Is my analysis still showing? Is it going to still go down to the 12 to 13,000 level and potentially 9? And I want to stress that as of now, the larger time frame technicals are still showing that.
So $12,000 to $13,000 is where Gareth sees Bitcoin potentially bottoming at, and maybe even as low as $9,000. And so if you watch my channel or if you follow Gareth, you know that that's nothing new, but it's interesting to hear him continue to stick with that prediction even up until today. And Clear Value Tax also has a bottom prediction of around $12,000 to $13,000 as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts and see why they think it's going to be around $12,000 to $13,000. Okay, so I know there's a lot of lines here, but if we go ahead and just pay attention to this orange line as well as these thicker lines down below, we can see that this orange line is around $19,000. And my notes here says that this is a major line of support, mainly because it was the top of 2017, as well as a lot of support in 2022. As we can see here, there was a lot of support at around that $19,000 range. And of course, that is the top on the left here in 2017, okay? So if we continue to go down, if Bitcoin actually drops even further than that, this major green thick line that I have drawn here, I labeled it as the 2019 high support. So if we go back to 2019, taking a look at this green line, we can see that Bitcoin actually made a really nice run in 2019 all the way up until around that $13,700 mark at that green line. Okay, so Bitcoin actually peaked out in 2019 around that line and then started crashing down. And it's funny that this here is a topping tail that we talked about earlier, that signal. And so we can see actually how it played out after it showed that signal to us. Bitcoin just went down from there, and then the major crash of the pandemic in 2020. Okay, and also if we go ahead and pull back to 2017, taking a look at that green line, we can see that after Bitcoin fell from its all-time highs in 2017, it actually touched this green line a couple of times before it actually broke through it. So in 2023, around 14,000, 13,000 is where Bitcoin could possibly find its first major support. If Bitcoin actually fell even below this green line, then it'll meet this next thick blue line at around $12,000, 2019 second support. So let's go ahead and take a look at 2019. We can just see that Bitcoin, you know, has been hovering around this blue line quite often, finding resistance, resistance, resistance before blasting off in 2021. Okay, even over in 2017, we found Bitcoin to have a lot of resistance over at that blue $12,000 mark. Worst case scenario is this red line, okay? So if Bitcoin ever reached this red line, let's go ahead and take a look at why. So Bitcoin actually hovered around this red line so many times. We could even see it right over here in 2017, broke through it here and found some support, only to break down and became resistance, 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 and then broke up and then became support. So Bitcoin hovered at around this $9,000, $10,000 mark for a very, very long time. I remember scooping up a ton of Bitcoin around this price back then just because it was just at that price for so long. If Bitcoin ever were to drop that low, then I think there's going to be a lot of buyers scooping up Bitcoin at around $9,000 to $10,000. But wait. Just because there's a lot of support down at those levels doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to go back to those levels. So let's hear what Gareth has to say.
I think it's very interesting how investors have gotten so bullish on Bitcoin when it's this small of a move. Look at the size of that move and then look at where the all-time highs were. So to be able to claim this is a new bull market, it's a little tricky. I mean, I've seen a lot of so-called fundamental analysis out there that, oh, this must be the bottom, the 4-year cycle, this and that. But remember, the 4-year cycle was under the guise of Fed printing money. They're not printing money right now. So you have to be a little bit open to things changing up a little bit here. We had one of the longest bull markets from 2009 to 2021. Was that a normal cycle? No, it was literally the longest bull market we've ever had. You really didn't have any long-term bear markets. Why? Because the Fed was printing money. So there is this impact on cycles that occurs when you have artificial drugs being introduced into the system, i.e. Fed printing of money. So we really have to be aware of that. And I think that gets me a little bit more cautious. It makes me think there's still potentially some downside to it.
All right, guys, that's about it for the video. If you enjoyed it, definitely hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I'm new to all of this, and so I really appreciate anybody that's been enjoying these videos, liking, subscribing, and leaving comments down below. It's been a very fun time, and I really appreciate all of you guys. All right, my name is Jimmy Invest, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.